Today is Wednesday, February 11th. We'll tell you about the major turning point in the investigation into Savannah Guthrie's mother's disappearance. Also, the names now appearing in the Epstein Files as potential accomplices. And the ICE leader's first testimony before Congress since 2 Americans were shot and killed by immigration officers. Plus, a new change to the symbolic center of the gay rights movement. Britney Spears' business move that could be worth 9 figures. And could AI actually be making jobs harder? We'll explain the new study, those stories, and more news coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy, all the day's news in less than 15 minutes. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. Let's do this. There have been a couple of major developments in the suspected abduction of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie. Authorities say a man has now been detained for questioning after a traffic stop south of Tucson, Arizona. Officials have not identified him or explained how he may be connected to the case, though Reuters cites a law enforcement official who says he is a suspect. No charges have been announced, but the detention came just hours after the FBI released newly recovered surveillance video. It shows a person wearing a ski mask, gloves, a backpack, and what appears to be a holstered handgun. And that person was captured on a doorbell camera at Nancy's home the day she disappeared. Investigators had said the camera was disconnected, but they were able to recover what they called residual data. Savannah also shared the video and pictures on Instagram, saying someone out there recognizes this person. As we've reported, authorities say there were signs of a struggle inside the home when Nancy was abducted more than 10 days ago now, including blood matching her DNA. Ransom demands were sent, though no proof of life has been provided. Savannah says her family believes her mother is still alive and is pleading for help to bring her home. At least 10 people were killed and at least 25 more were hurt in a mass shooting in Canada. 8 people died from the shooting at a school in British Columbia, including a woman who police believe to be the shooter. They say it seems she turned the gun on herself. 2 more people were found dead at a nearby home. Out of the dozens of people hurt, some had life-threatening injuries. This is one of the deadliest shootings in Canada's history. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney canceled his upcoming trip to the Munich Security Conference in response to the shooting. The U.S. Justice Department has started to republish some of the Epstein Files, but this time without certain names blacked out. For example, it unredacted names from a 2019 FBI document that listed Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirators for child sex trafficking. None of these people have been charged in connection to the Epstein case, and it's not clear what the FBI document was actually used for or where the names came from. But at least some of the names are familiar. For example, billionaire business magnate Les Wexner, whose company at one time owned Bath & Body Works, Victoria's Secret, Abercrombie & Fitch, and more. There's also former French modeling agent Jean-Luc Brunel and Epstein's longtime assistant Leslie Groff. Legal representatives for Wexner and Groff say their clients already cooperated with prosecutors and were cleared years ago. As for Brunel, he was already arrested on charges of raping a minor. He denied any wrongdoing, but then died by suicide in his prison cell back in 2022. Lawmakers who viewed the unredacted files say there are even more people who were likely incriminated. The DOJ has accused them of grandstanding. President Trump's Commerce Secretary was grilled by lawmakers yesterday about his inclusion in the Epstein Files. Howard Lutnick told senators he and his family had lunch with Epstein on his private island since they were once neighbors. Last year, Lutnick said he decided to distance himself from Epstein around 2005, but the newly released files show they were still in contact in 2012, arranging trips to the island 4 years after Epstein was first charged with sex crimes. Still, Lutnick says they weren't close. The White House is still supporting him, despite growing calls for the secretary's resignation. By the way, a big name in sports and media management was also mentioned in the most recent batch of Epstein Files. We're talking about Casey Wasserman, who seems to have sent some sexually suggestive emails to Ghislaine Maxwell back in 2003. He said he regrets his association with her, but now many of his clients are cutting ties, including Chappell Roan, Dropkick Murphys, and more. Other people have also faced professional consequences for being included in the files, like a top lawyer here in the U.S. and multiple officials in Europe. The fallout is expected to continue. Some of the top officials behind President Trump's immigration crackdown were on Capitol Hill yesterday to defend their tough approach. They insisted they're only enforcing the law. And the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Acting Director, Todd Lyons, said, quote, "We send a message to anyone who thinks they can intimidate us. You will fail." He told lawmakers his agency removed nearly 500,000 people from the U.S. during the first year of this Trump administration, and that, quote, "we are only getting started." Democrats brought up reports of U.S. citizens being arrested and sprayed with chemical irritants, as well as other instances of suspected excessive force. The official said there are several open investigations but would not give details. They also declined to answer questions about the deadly shootings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy by immigration officers last month, citing ongoing investigations. GOP lawmakers focused more on increasing threats against federal law enforcement, while also calling for a complete and impartial investigation into the Good and Preddy shootings. The heads of Customs and Border Protection and ICE will be back on Capitol Hill tomorrow for another day of testimony. All of this comes as lawmakers are considering potential changes to immigration enforcement. As we've told you, Democrats are refusing to fund the Homeland Security Department without reforms. Republicans sent Democrats an offer on a path forward this week. Details were not publicly released. But Democratic leaders quickly dismissed the offer, saying it was short on details and did not address their concerns. The Dems already laid out their demands last week, including bans on immigration enforcement near medical and childcare facilities, schools, and churches. Also, mandatory warrants for arrests, de-escalation training, and more. Republican negotiators called it a ridiculous Christmas list of demands. If lawmakers don't reach a deal soon, parts of the Homeland Security Department are set to shut down this weekend. To be continued. Another winter storm has taken hold in the Northeast. It's bringing a new round of snow through parts of New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, Pennsylvania, and Maine. Advisories are in effect, and there could be a slick morning commute today. Of course, it's already been a brutally cold and snowy couple of months for the northeastern U.S. Many major cities have already recorded above-average snow for the first time in several years. But there could be a lot more to come, as February is typically the region's snowiest month. We have more news for you still coming up. But first, the Newsworthy is brought to you by Blueland. I'm all about living a cleaner and more sustainable lifestyle, but I also need products I use to be effective and convenient. And that's why I love Blueland. I've made the switch to Blueland across all the cleaning products in my home, especially at the start of the year when I'm rethinking routines and trying to build more sustainable habits at home. Certified by Cradle to Cradle, Blueland products meet the highest standard of clean. They're effective, yet gentle on people and the planet. From cleaning sprays and toilet bowl cleaner to dishwasher and laundry detergent tablets, Blueland's 100% microplastic-free, EPA Safer Choice certified formulas are safe to use around my kid and my cat. I truly appreciate not having to choose between the safe option and what actually gets my house clean. And let me tell you, I've never been a fan of cleaning toilets for obvious reasons, but actually Blueland makes it so much easier and more pleasant. The toilet tablets smell good, it's kind of fun to watch it fizz, and it works on everything from rust to lime scale. Blueland has a special offer for listeners. Right now, get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/newsworthy. You won't want to miss this. Blueland.com/newsworthy for 15% off. That's blueland.com/newsworthy to get 15% off. Okay, now back to the news. The nation's largest doctors group is now launching its own vaccine review process, independent of the federal government. The American Medical Association announced it's teaming up with the Vaccine Integrity Project at the University of Minnesota. They plan to create what the AMA calls a structured, evidence-based review of vaccine safety and effectiveness. The focus for now will be on flu, COVID-19, and RSV, ahead of the next respiratory virus season. Remember, this comes after Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. fired all members of the CDC's Vaccine Advisory Panel last year and replaced them with new members, including some vaccine skeptics. Since then, the panel has voted to scale back or drop some longstanding recommendations for certain vaccinations. The AMA says that federal review system has effectively collapsed and that vaccine decisions should be guided by science, not politics. Health and Human Services pushed back, calling the claim categorically false and insisting the CDC's process remains grounded in gold standard science. The new review group says it won't issue its own official recommendations, but will provide independent evidence reports to states, doctors, and others making vaccine decisions. It marks yet another significant break between the federal government and major medical groups on vaccine policy. The FDA is taking steps toward a possible ban on a long-used food additive found in everything from cereal to frozen meals. The agency announced it's launching a new safety review of BHA, short for butylated hydroxyanisole. It's a synthetic preservative that helps keep fats and oils from spoiling. BHA has been in the U.S. food supply for decades, first listed as generally recognized as safe back in 1958 and approved as a food additive in 1961. Concerns about its safety also are not new. In the 1990s, a federal toxicology program said BHA is reasonably anticipated to be a human carcinogen based on animal studies. It's also listed as a known carcinogen under California's Proposition 65. Research in humans, though, is limited. The new review is part of a broader effort to reevaluate chemicals that have been allowed in foods for decades and could lead to changes not just for BHA, but for other preservatives as well. The large pride flag that's been hanging outside the Stonewall National Monument in New York City has been removed. And now there's a lot of backlash because of the history behind Stonewall. It goes back to 1969 when police raided the Stonewall Inn gay bar, setting off what became known as the Stonewall Rebellion. The resistance to the police crackdown inspired activists to mobilize, helping to launch the start of the modern-day LGBTQ rights movement. Stonewall was declared a national monument in 2016 by then-President Obama. Then last year, under President Trump, the Interior Department cautioned national parks that non-agency flags could not be officially displayed. And in response to that directive, the rainbow flag came down this week. New York Governor Kathy Hochul called it a, quote, shameful attempt to erase our LGBTQ history. The White House hasn't responded to that pushback. Either way, the National Park Service said it will continue to preserve the site's historic significance through exhibits and programs. Pop star Britney Spears has sold her entire song catalog. Several news outlets cite legal documents that show the rights to her music were acquired by Primary Wave. That's a music and marketing company that specializes in catalog deals. It already owns the music of Prince, Bob Marley, Stevie Nicks, Whitney Houston, and more. Variety says it's safe to assume Spears' artist royalties and publishing rights were included in this deal, but not her name, image, and likeness rights. In other words, it seems because of this deal, Primary Wave will get paid when Britney songs are streamed or played on the radio, and it may be able to help put her music in movies, commercials, and so on. But it likely won't control Britney actually appearing in commercials or brand endorsements using her name. So far, no comment from Primary Wave, Britney Spears, or her representatives. So exact terms of the deal aren't known, but TMZ estimates it's worth 9 figures. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Work Wednesday, when we break down one interesting career or work-related news story every Wednesday. But first, this episode is brought to you by Gundar. In a world full of everything digital, I still look forward to the routine of getting the physical mail every day. There's just something about that real personal touch, going outside with my son, waving to our neighbors, and even chatting with our mailman. I can always remember his name because it's Bill. You know, Bill delivering our bills. But I know. I wish we could say no thank you to getting any bills or getting any junk mail. But that's why I'm a fan of Gundar. They create smart, targeted direct mail that people actually want. It's not junk. It's intentional, useful, well-crafted mail going to the right audience for the products and services they need. In a world full of AI slop and sketchy digital ads, this is something real, hand-delivered by a human. And here's the best part. Direct mail response rates are way higher than digital, often more than 30 times the response rate of email and other digital ads. So if you're a business owner, CMO, or marketing manager and want to reach better customers and cut through the noise of digital clutter, check out Gundar. And don't miss their free 2026 direct mail lookbook packed with over 500 real creative examples that drive response. Just visit trustdirectmail.com and get yours free. Hand-delivered, of course. That's trustdirectmail.com. Now back to Work Wednesday. New research suggests AI may not be reducing workloads after all. In fact, it may be quietly increasing them. A study published in Harvard Business Review followed about 200 employees at a U.S. tech company over 8 months. It found when workers used generative AI, they worked more. Employees moved faster, took on things to do that used to belong to other teams, and even extended their work into lunch breaks, evenings, or between meetings, often without being asked. It may seem like a good thing, and at first productivity at the company rose. But over time, employers started expecting more, faster, and workers reported feeling busier, not freer. Researchers warn that this kind of workload creep can lead to cognitive fatigue, burnout, and more errors. So they suggest companies develop an AI practice, clear norms around when to use AI, when to pause, and how to prevent work from quietly expanding. Thank you so much for listening today and for sharing the show if you found it helpful. We'll be back tomorrow with the latest news. Until then, have a great day.